Hello and welcome to SGPN's The Daily Dog. I'm your host, Britton Hess. I'm here with my favorite Underdog Fantasy Pick'em plays for Friday, March 21st, 2025. I can't believe it's Friday. My God, time flies. If you're new to Underdog Fantasy, sign up with promo code DailyDog, DAILYDOG. Get a 50% deposit match bonus worth up to $1,000. Take advantage of all the other promos going on. Tons of action, obviously, in NBA, NHL, March Madness, UFC over the weekend. We got entries for that too. Tennis is happening, Miami Open, Miami Masters, whatever you want to call it. Lots of good stuff to get involved in right now on Underdog. I also got to say they have promos for existing members all the time. So you know what? If you're a person who gets action down daily, make sure you're not going through your routine without checking out what's available on Underdog. If you're a prop player or something like that on sports betting sites and you have access to Underdog, you should check them out because the bonuses and the rules with injuries are completely advantageous to the player. Bonuses and boosts and bonuses, boosts, and discounts and all that stuff are quite self-explanatory, but the injury rules, if a player gets hurt in the first half and doesn't come back in the second half, that leg being void is massive. Sportsbooks don't do that for you unless you complain and cry on Twitter. You don't have to do that. That's built into the rules at Underdog, so check them out. All right, let's get an NBA entry number one. Man, this first entry has two old dogs that I need to do some of their old tricks in. Khris Middleton higher than 9.5 points. Honestly, it's just getting too low. It's just too low of a number for Khris Middleton. He only had 4 points in 11 minutes in his last game. But that said, outside of that game, he's been scoring a little bit better than that. Like I said, he only played 11 minutes in the last game, which obviously hurts his scoring. But he had 10 points the previous game, 16 points the previous game, 8 points one game before that, 12, 14, 16, 17. So he's obviously well capable of getting higher than 9.5 points. It's just too low of a number for a guy who can hit a couple threes and be right on the doorstep in an instant. They're facing off against the Magic. I think the Magic are, going to play a little slower and all that normal stuff that, will keep this total relatively suppressed given the rest of the NBA. But I think that, again, it's just too low a number. Speaking of old dogs, we got to go with Klay Thompson, higher than 15.5 points. I know Klay has been banged up, but man, right now, who do the Mavs have to score points? Hardly anybody. Klay has to do it. He had 21 in his last game. He had 3 games ago, he had 26. He had 26. He had 15. He had 28. Like, the guy can still get hot from three. If he gets 4 3-pointers, we're right there. The way that he has to be used right now, given the lack of offensive talent on the Mavs and them fighting for a play-in spot somehow, means that, Klay is going to get the opportunity. So higher than 15.5 points for Klay, higher than 9.5 for Khris Middleton. That is a 3x multiplier. NBA entry number 2. I'm riding the hot hand. Aaron Gordon, higher than 19.5 points. Yes, he's questionable for this game. But again, it's NBA, but guys are always going to be questionable. He's been questionable for 2 games, and he's been crushing it right now from a scoring perspective. On the road against the Blazers, I think there's going to be plenty of points available here for these dudes. And again, it's just the hot streak that Aaron Gordon is on. I'm not going to go against it. He's only averaging 14 points per game. Last game, 26. Previous game, 38. 5 games of 27. So basically 3 out of his last 5 games, he's had 26 plus. I think that this is another good spot for Gordon to pick up the slack while their team is dealing with some injuries to some key players. So yeah, that is going to be that is going to be why I'm looking at him despite being hurt and listed as questionable or game time decision in this matchup. Without Jokic, his best buddy Jokic, he picks up the slack. That should be pretty apparent at this point. All right, let's go to Anthony Edwards, higher than 27.5 points as the T-Wolves take on the Pelicans in a short revenge spot. Zion Williamson out of this game. We're going to take Nikola Jokic. We're going to take Anthony Edwards, higher than 27.5 points. I think that he is going to have a chip on his shoulder. He's averaging 27.6 points per game. 28 or more here. Let's go, Mr. Ant Edwards. All right, that is a 3x multiplier. Aaron Gordon, higher than 19.5 points. Anthony Edwards, higher than 27.5 points. NHL entry number 1, Sidney Crosby, higher than 0.5 goals. Adam Fantilli, higher than 0.5 points. Only one NHL game today. Only one hockey game, so we're going to just keep it simple. One NHL entry today. Crosby has to do so much for the Penguins right now after they traded all those guys at the deadline. He still is obviously a super productive player, still scores a ton. So give me Sidney Crosby higher than 0.5 goals against the team in the Blue Jackets, who hasn't exactly, shut the door out. They did only allow 1 goal last night, but this is a back-to-back. Their goaltending is not ideal. So give me Crosby goal. And then on the other side of this game, Adam Fantilli higher than 0.5 points for the Blue Jackets. Everybody can score on the Penguins. Even the Islanders scored 4 goals on the Penguins. Fantilli should have a point in this game because I imagine 3 or more goals for the Blue Jackets in this game. College basketball entry number 1, Walter Clayton Jr. higher than 17.5 points. The big man, the best man on the Gators. I think that, obviously they should blow this team out, but I think if they do blow them out, it's because Walter Clayton is lighting up the score sheet. And then RJ Davis higher than 17.5 points. One of the hottest shooters ever. 6 for 6 from 3 in the play-in game for North Carolina. I think RJ Davis stays hot here. I think North Carolina is going to be able to play free and loose here because they, weren't even expected to make March Madness. Now that they're here, I think they're going to be free shooting. RJ Davis higher than 17.5 points. Walter Clayton Jr. higher than 17.5 points. 2.48x multiplier. College basketball entry number 2. TJ Bamba higher than 10.5 points. I just think that Oregon is going to have a massive size advantage in this matchup. It's not like he lights the score sheet on fire from a scoring perspective on it every single day. But against Liberty, again, tall 6'5" guard, I think he's going to be just fine here. Higher than 10.5 points. He had 11 points against Michigan State in that loss in the Big Ten tournament, 17 points in his final regular season game, in the quarterfinal of the Big Ten tournament. 3 of his last 4 games, he's had 10 or 11 or more points. Let's do it again right here. TJ Bamba, pairing TJ Bamba with Donovan Dent of New Mexico, higher than 21.5 points. It's just kind of a throw everything you can at the wall, if you ask me, situation for New Mexico against Marquette. I think Marquette is gettable here a little bit. So I do think Donovan Dent is going to keep on rocking. Give me Donovan Dent higher than 21.5 points with TJ Bamba higher than 10.5 points, 3x multiplier. Let's get into the tennis before we hit the lotto and then UFC for the weekend. Tennis, Carlos Alcaraz lower than 18.0 games played. I just don't think that there's going to be much of an answer from David Goffin in this matchup. Goffin, an older player. Alcaraz is going to be on him from the onset. I think we're going to get 6-2, 6-3 in this. That's my guess right now. 6-2, 6-3. Alcaraz could be even more messy for Goffin. Then Brandon Nakashima higher than 21.5 games played. Nakashima is a guy that is serve dominant, not necessarily greatest on return. I think that they're going to go 3 sets here, 3 sets higher than 21.5. Obviously, heavy correlation with that. And he's going against Roberto Carballes-Baena, who is a guy who likes to drag out matches to the 3rd set as well. Tennis entry number 2, MIrra Andreeva, lower than 19.5 games played. Obviously, MIrra just won in Indian Wells. She's young. She's healthy. She can make stuff happen. Give me MIrra Andreeva, lower than 19.5 games played against her countrywoman, Veronika Kudermetova. Kudermetova not having the best season so far. Madison Keys, lower than 20 games played against Alina Evanesian. I'm a big Evanesian fan, but she's going to get hit off the court by Keys. I think Keys is going to, break her serve at will, and she's going to power through Evanesian routinely. So this is a 3x multiplier. Let's go to lotto entry number 1. Rickard Rakell higher than 0.5 goals for the Penguins. Always getting a good number on Rakell. Always a good scorer against a team like the Blue Jackets. CJ McCollum higher than 3.5 3-pointers made. He's got to make these threes if this game's going to be competitive at all for the Pels. And then Kevin Durant higher than 29.5 points. I think it's a big spot for the Suns to show something versus a Cavs team that is not having their best stretch of the year. 16.08x multiplier. I recommend flexing at 8.04x if it goes 3 for 3, 2.37x if it goes 2 for 3. Lotto entry number 2, Kirill Marchenko, higher than 0.5 goals for the Blue Jackets. Again, anybody can score against the Penguins. Marchenko has been on a little bit of a scoring dearth. Great spot to get back in scoring ways is against the Penguins. So Kirill Marchenko, higher than 0.5 goals. Anthony Simmons, higher than 24.5 points. Simmons has been an awesome scorer for the Portland Trailblazer lately, and then James Harden higher than 9.5 assists. Again, I think Harden is going to be helping his boys out. Kawhi Leonard scoring more. That means more assist possibilities for James Harden as they host the Grizzlies on this road trip for the Grizz. 15.02x multiplier. If you flex it, I recommend flexing it. 7.51x if it goes 3 for 3. If it goes 2 out of 3, 2.23x multiplier. UFC for tomorrow. Alexia Thainara, fight time lower than 14.99 minutes against Meatball Molly McCann. Just a lot of slop from Molly, and Thainara is a dangerous finisher. I think that this is a short-nosed fight for her. I think there might be some risks taken. I think this thing's not going the distance. So lower than 14.99 minutes for Alexia Thainara. Then Chris Padilla against Jai Herbert lower than 13.5 minutes. Chris Padilla has not been in any decision fight since he's been in the UFC. Jai Herbert is a big time striker, not necessarily the best on the ground. So there is knockout equity for both guys, and then there's definite submission equity for Christopher Padilla. This is a 3.78x multiplier for Padilla fight time lower than 13.5 minutes, and Alexia Thainara fight time lower than 14.99 minutes. UFC entry number 2, Jan Blachowicz, higher than 1.5 takedowns. I don't necessarily think he's going to beat Carlos Ulberg, but I do think he's going to have to rely on the takedown. I think he's going to get 2 takedowns in this fight. I don't know if he's going to keep him on the ground, but I think he's going to use his strength to get him down there. And then Leon Edwards, lower than 64.5 significant strikes. If you think that Sean Brady's going to take him down at will, it's going to be tough for Edwards to get strikes off. But at the same time, Brady's got, I would say, a fairly weak chin. And if he is going to eat 60 strikes from Leon Edwards, he's probably going down. So that is it. Leon Edwards lower than 64.5 significant strikes. Jan Blachowicz higher than 1.5 takedowns. 3.87x multiplier. That's all I got for you today. Good luck on your picks, and let's make some money.